How about those Miami Dolphins, man? How about them Dolphins? Listen, I know it's the Jets. The Jets absolutely stink. The Jets are 3-10 for a reason, but man, did it feel good to see the Miami Dolphins put belt to ass for 3 hours against that division rival. Listen, we absolutely owned that game from the word go, okay? The coin toss, the Dolphins won. They elected to receive. I loved it. What happened? They went down the field in 4 plays, okay? 4 plays. And they scored a touchdown immediately, 2.5 minutes into that game. They controlled the game from the word go. They were all guns blazing. They got turnovers, and I know this happened against an undrafted rookie quarterback. I don't care. I don't care. Okay, with the way they won against the Commanders and the Saints in nail biter games and games where you want them to control it, but the way that the time that their record was, um, it was very close. Like they played down to the Commanders, they played down to the Saints competition. Sunday against the Jets, I don't know what it was, but they absolutely smoked the Jets, and the defense was outstanding as you would expect them to be against Brady Cook, who has never played in an NFL game before Sunday, and um, just an absolute abysmal Jets offense. And then the Dolphins offense, they go up 21-0 in the first quarter, and the game is over, basically. You had some moments in the game, but never in that game did you feel like the Dolphins were going to, slip away with the game like you did against the Carolina Panthers, or like you did against the Chargers, or even the Patriots game in the beginning of the season where you felt like, I don't feel comfortable with this lead. The Jets game, you had a couple moments that you were like, oh boy. But you were never like, man, are we really about to let the Jets back into this game? There was a chance. There was an opportunity right before halftime where Rasul Douglas got the interception. You could have just kneed it and taken it into the halftime. Luckily, you prevented a safety. Luckily, you prevented a pick six in the third quarter. But hey, it's all good. It's all good, man. They dominated start to finish. They were physical. They were dominant. They punched the Jets in the mouth. Man, this running game is outstanding. We're going to talk about it tonight. We got some things to talk about, man. We're going to talk about this running game, how the Dolphins season has turned around because of the running game on offense. And we're going to talk a little bit about this Steelers game coming up. This is, in my opinion, and some people might disagree with me. Some people might say that I'm overthinking it or whatever. I promise you, I'm not overthinking it, okay? This this game on Monday night against the Steelers, okay? This is going to be the biggest game of Mike McDaniel's career because Mike McDaniel is coaching for his job right now. I don't know what's going to happen with Tua Tagovailoa in 2026. The Dolphins are not going to have a top 5 draft pick. I don't know the options at quarterback. We owe Tua money going into next season. He's more than likely going to be the starting quarterback again. But right now, Mike McDaniel is coaching for his job. This is the biggest game of his career coming up Monday night. So we'll get into that a little bit. And news that isn't too big, but we'll dive into that a little bit in about a couple minutes here. But I appreciate you guys for joining me here tonight. The Dolphins are coming off Sunday's game against the Jets with a 34-10 win. I was there in person at MetLife Stadium. It was literally a MetLife takeover, man. Dolphins fans absolutely packed the house. The stadium's not sold out, not even close. But I swear to God, man, being there at the game, it felt like there were more Dolphin fans um, in the stadium compared to Jets fans. And what was crazy was me and my girlfriend Alyssa, we were walking in the American Dream Mall before the game, and we pointed out a couple Dolphins fans, and she even was like to me, she's like, it's kind of like 50-50 on Dolphins and Jets fans. We saw Jets fans at the American Dream Mall, and then we walk over to the stadium. You get in the stadium, and I'm telling you, man, there had to be more Dolphins fans at the game. Dolphins fans showed out, and they were loud the entire game. They came out for the introductions. The whole team came out. It was literally a roar from the crowd, a big, humongous roar when the Miami Dolphins came running onto the football field. And then the Jets came onto the field, and they introduced their defense, and it was golf claps. It was absolutely hilarious, man. It was hilarious. But man, such an incredible experience. I would say out of all the Dolphins games I've been to in my life, that was probably the most fun, and that was probably the best Dolphins game I've ever been to in my entire life, man. Just an absolute unbelievable experience to see the Dolphins kick the Jets' ass in person. Oh my God. I will have that for the rest of the season. I don't know what's going to happen, but I will have two things to reflect on for this season. Number one, beating the Buffalo Bills in a dominant fashion, okay? And then number two, that game against the Jets. And I know it's the Jets. They suck. They're going to have a top 5 draft pick. Because I don't know how severely hurt Tyrod Taylor is, and they're not going to win a game with Brady Cook. I don't care, but that was awesome. That was absolutely awesome. And you guys can go check out the vlog from MetLife Stadium. It will be up in the last 20 seconds of the podcast. All you have to do is click on it, go watch the vlog. It was awesome. I was so happy being there, taking Alyssa to her first ever professional football game. And I'll be taking her to plenty more Dolphins games in my lifetime, man. I can't wait. It's gonna be awesome. She was telling me already on the car ride home. She's like, I want to go to Miami next year. So hopefully we can make that happen. And maybe we'll be back at MetLife Stadium next year again. Who knows? And what was great was it wasn't even that cold. Because we were preparing like it was going to be freezing. And to be honest with you, I wasn't even that cold. And so that was awesome. It's not like it's going to be at Pittsburgh on Monday night, but I was not cold during the game, which was awesome. So she was a little bit, but it wasn't as cold as we expected it to be. So that was great. So all right, man, let's dive into it. We got some stuff to talk about. Not so we'll get into this topic first. I mean, we're not going to spend too much time on it, but the Dolphins did get flexed out of Sunday Night Football. Next week, they were supposed to be playing the Cincinnati Bengals on Sunday Night Football, but it got flexed out. They will be playing the Bengals at 1 o'clock next week, which honestly I think is good for the Dolphins. Another 1 o'clock game in Miami where the opposing team is going to have to deal with the heat in December where it's 80 degrees. It's going to be an adjustment for the Bengals. They have a bottom 5 defense in the NFL, and I'm okay with this news. I'm not too mad about it at all. The Patriots and the Ravens is the new Sunday Night Football game over the Bengals and the Dolphins. And honestly, it's not really, excuse me, it's not really the Dolphins' fault that they got flexed out of this Sunday night football game, because I think that if the Bengals had beaten the Bills on Sunday, which they had a two possession lead in the fourth quarter, and Joe Burrow threw about two interceptions in 4 plays, which completely changed the course of the game. Had they beaten the Bills, I think they would have kept this game on Sunday Night Football. But there's two reasons as to why uh, they flex this game out. Number one, the Bengals are 4-9, and more than likely they have no chance of making the playoffs. That's number one. And number two is Tua Tagovailoa is not playing good football this season for the Miami Dolphins. And you market this game with the idea that you have the two top quarterbacks that were picked in the 2020 draft class, Joe Burrow versus Tua Tagovailoa. They played each other a lot in college. That's the ideal storyline for this game. And Joe Burrow has barely played this year, and Tua Tagovailoa is not playing good football this year at all. So it was the right move. I'm happy with it, and now I just get to watch the Dolphins at 1 o'clock next Sunday against the Bengals, and then move on with my day. So that was the little bit of news that came out yesterday. And then Devon Achane with the rib injury on Sunday. I'm actually happy he didn't go back into that game, because we didn't need Devon Achane to beat the Jets in the second half as we saw. We will talk about that in a little bit. He's expected to be good for the Steelers game on Monday night, which is awesome because we're going to need him. And again, we will talk about that during the show tonight for you guys. So that's a little bit of a little bit of news for the Miami Dolphins, and now we got to dive into the big topics, which is this running game for the Dolphins is really the main reason why the Dolphins have won 4 in a row and why they've won 5 out of 6 games. I want to take you back to something earlier in the season. I want to take you back to when the Miami Dolphins played the Cleveland Browns in Week 7, and they went on the road to Cleveland in the absolute pouring rain against the 1-5 Browns with Dylan Gabriel at quarterback, and they lost 31-6. Now, they had 99 rushing yards in the game, but they had to go away from the run in the second half because they were down 17-6 going into halftime, and Tua Tagovailoa threw a pick six the first play of the second half. So down 3 possessions early in the third quarter, they had to go away from that game, from the run game, and they had to constantly throw the ball. And Tua Tagovailoa all game was just gifting the Cleveland Browns interceptions, and he threw all 3 of his interceptions in the second half of that football game. And after that game, Mike McDaniel was like, we have to look at ourselves hard in the mirror, and if we have to change the way we play football to turn this around, that's what we got to do. And that's literally what Mike McDaniel said in the presser after they lost to the Cleveland Browns. And the very next game against the Atlanta Falcons, they did exactly that. They dominated the Falcons for 4 quarters. They ran the ball 37 times, and the main difference, that they've been doing since the Falcons game is they've been consistently running the football, and they've been using Daniel Brunskill as a sixth offensive lineman in the running game. And that's the Brunskill package has been massive for the Miami Dolphins in these last 6 games that we've been playing. I have some stats here that I'm going to read off to you. In the last 6 games, the rushing yards that the Miami Dolphins have in these last 6 games that they've had. So, against the Atlanta Falcons, they ran the ball 37 times for 141 yards, okay? So, 37 times for 141 yards against the Falcons. Against the Ravens, where they lost 28-6 on Thursday Night Football, that was Chris Greer's last game as general manager. The Dolphins only ran the ball 20 times for 87 yards. And they shot themselves in the foot multiple times in the first half. You had the Taj Washington fumble. You had the missed field goal by Riley Patterson. You had the turnover on downs where it's 4th and 2 and you don't elect to kick the field goal. You go for it. To a miscommunication with the receiver. You were only down by 1 score going into halftime, but you felt horrible about it because you should have been in the lead going into halftime. Dolphins had to go away from the run in that game. They only had 87 rushing yards. But from here on out, in this 4-game winning streak, this is really where the running game numbers skyrocket, okay? Against the Buffalo Bills, the Dolphins ran the ball 32 times for 197 yards. The Dolphins won that game 30-13. In Spain, the Dolphins ran the ball 31 times for 169 yards. Devon Achane had 120 rushing yards. Ollie Gordon had 45. The Dolphins ended up winning that game. Very tight game, 16-13 in overtime. Against the Saints, Week 13, the Dolphins ran the ball 32 times for 164 yards. They survived that game, 21-17, to go 5-7. And then this past Sunday, against the Jets, the Miami Dolphins ran the ball 41 times for 239 yards. Let me say that again. Without Devon Achane for most of this game, by the way, because he got hurt about the middle of the second quarter, I want to say. Against the Jets on Sunday, the Dolphins ran the ball 41 times for 239 yards against the New York Jets. So what they've been doing consistently in these past 4 games is they've been running the ball with all 3 of their running backs, okay? I'm not going to exclude Jalen Wright and Ollie Gordon. They've been running the ball with all 3 of their running backs. And better yet, they've been putting less pressure on Tua. Because the more you make Tua do, the more mistakes he's going to make. And he's proven that to you this year. And that's where you got to shout out Mike McDaniel. And you got to give Mike McDaniel some credit. Because ever since the Cleveland Browns game, he's completely transformed this offense to a run-first offense. And since after that Cleveland Browns game, you know what's so common? What a coincidence. The run game has been popping off. What a coincidence. The offensive line might be the best unit on this team. Honest to God. Look how awesome the offensive line is playing right now for the Miami Dolphins. They were physical. They were smacking dudes in the mouth on Sunday, and Patrick Paul even said, when the Dolphins were up 14-0, we saw the look in the Jets' eyes. They didn't want it. And Patrick Paul was like, well, okay. And they just continued to smack them in the mouth all game long. Even when, when they were up 21-7 and Mike McDaniel got cute, they still ran the ball a little bit, but Mike McDaniel got cute. And then in the fourth quarter, where was it? After the Jets kicked their field goal, they put their foot down. And it's like, all right, it's time to stop messing around. We're going to put this puppy to bed. Jalen Wright is popping off 7-yard runs, 8-yard runs, 9-yard runs, back-to-back 11-yard runs. Ollie Gordon's getting in there. They threw the ball one time on that touchdown drive. And then, bam, first and goal, Ollie Gordon powers his way through for a 7-yard touchdown. Absolutely beautiful. And the way they started this game, too. Mike McDaniel is in his bag right now with the end arounds and the motions. He's got 3 people behind the line of scrimmage with Tua. He's giving carries to Darren Waller, end arounds to Jalen Waddle. Mike McDaniel ran circles around the Jets coaching staff on Sunday. Now, that's not much to brag about because the Jets are an incompetent football team, an incompetent franchise. But Mike McDaniel, this guy was in his bag on Sunday against the New York Jets. And if we're going to pull this thing off, now we are officially in the playoff race if we beat the Steelers. I'm not ready to say we're in the playoff race yet. I'm just not. This team, I've given them credit in the past, and I've been absolutely flamed for it. If they go on the road and they beat the Steelers on Monday night, I'm putting them in the playoff race. They're back into it. We'll start talking about scenarios. But I've been flamed in the past for giving this team too much credit, like I did last year before they went on the road and they played the Packers, and I looked like an idiot for it after the game was over. Because what happened? They went into Lambeau Field and they got bullied by the Packers. So I'm not ready to fully commit that this team is possibly a playoff team, but Monday night they can prove it to me. And it's so annoying? I really gotta wait till Monday night to watch this game. This is going to be a long 6 days. Seriously, I'm going to be begging for this game. And I'm on the edge of my seat already. And it's Tuesday. And I really got to wait 6 more days to watch this football game. This is going to be the test for the Miami Dolphins. Just like last year, the test was Green Bay. And they failed. This year, the test is Pittsburgh. And we're going to talk about that in just a little bit. But to pull this off, you've got to do what you've been doing the past 4 days. The past 4 games. That's fucking running the football. And even at times on Sunday, when the Jets were stacking the box, the Dolphins were still running the football. The Dolphins were still popping off 5, 4, 6, 7 yards. And you know what? That's fine. That's fine. You keep running the football until it absolutely doesn't work. Then you got to throw. And listen, you got to continue what you're doing, which is not putting the football in Tua Tagovailoa's hands. He played great in that first quarter, but from the second quarter on, man, I don't know what was going on with him. He was, again, missing throws, throwing the football when receivers aren't even looking. And he didn't play bad against the Jets. It's just very average. He's playing really, really average right now. And, it's a good thing that we're not asking him to do too much. But I'm afraid that in these last 4 games where the competition's getting better, we're going to need him to do a little bit more. And I don't know if Tua's going to come through for us. We're playing better competition now. And against weaker competition, he wasn't playing good. So that just makes me even more nervous about Tua Tagovailoa when we're playing better competition the last 4 weeks of the season. And, what's wild to me right now is the beginning of the season, the most confident, out of all the, before we talk a little bit about the Pittsburgh game, I just kind of want to dive into this. Before the season started, I was like, out of all the position groups on the Miami Dolphins, the most confident position group I have is the wide receivers. Right now, it's the offensive line for me. The offensive line is absolutely killing it. And even when Larry Borom was in there, the offensive line was playing really good with Larry Borom in there at right tackle. And now Austin Jackson's back, and it's like he's been playing the whole year. They are gelling so well. Cole Strange has been so good. Aaron Brewer is a top 5 center in the league. Jonas Savaiinaya continues to get better and better and better. Patrick Paul is a solid left tackle. If he keeps developing and getting better, we're going to pay him, hopefully. And I just love how well this offensive line has meshed. And I just love how they've been smacking. I just loved how they played against the Jets on Sunday. They smacked them. They played with so much physicality. If they can take that on these last 4 games, man, I'm going to feel really good about the offensive line going into next season. But how funny is it that going into this season, the position group I was concerned with the most was the offensive line, and the position group I was confident with the most was the receivers. And now we're going into week 15, and the position group I feel most confident in is the offensive line. And the position group I feel concerned about, the quarterback's obvious, but the receivers, man, because no one's really making plays outside of Jalen Waddle and Greg Dulcich, which out of all the finds, we've had some really, really good steals this season with Jack Jones and Rasul Douglas and Cole Strange and Greg Dulcich. When we get to the offseason, you're really going to have to consider bringing these guys back. I mean, you can probably upgrade from Cole Strange, but the other 3, you're really going to have to consider bringing back all 3 of those guys for next season because they have been playing stellar football. Stellar football, all 3 of them have been playing, but that's another conversation for another day. But right now, out of all the position groups for the Dolphins, I feel most confident about the offensive line, and that's because of how good this running game has been, which is absolutely, it's wild to say. But, all right, man. Monday Night Football coming up against the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers are coming off a 27-22 win against the Baltimore Ravens. We're going to preview this game later on in the week. I don't know if I'm going to upload it Friday, the traditional Fins Up Friday, or if I'm going to upload it Saturday because they play Monday. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. But, we'll talk about it a little bit here. And there's been a lot of big games that Mike McDaniel has coached in his tenure with the Dolphins. You look at the 2022 Bills game in the snow. They go on the road and they blow that game. The playoff game, obviously, with Skylar Thompson. How close they were to winning that game with a third-string quarterback. You think about the Cowboys game, which was big, and all the narratives going into that game, pulling through that one. And then literally the last 3 games of the season, every single one of those games you could have considered, at the time, the biggest game Mike McDaniel has coached. Pooped the bet against the Ravens. Pooped the bet against the Bills with the division on the line. And then absolutely folded like a lawn chair in the playoffs in Kansas City. And then you got last year against the Packers. You got bullied for 4 quarters. And then the Texans, you couldn't do anything on offense in that game. Nothing. And those are some pretty big games. Every single one of those games I've brought up has been big games in the past for the Miami Dolphins. And I think out of all those games, none of them are bigger than this game on Monday night against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And you want to know why none of those games are as big as those games? Because going into those games, Mike McDaniel's job was not on the line. Now, like I said earlier, you got to give credit where credit is due. The Dolphins have completely transformed their offense ever since they lost that game to the Cleveland Browns. And they are now a top 10 rushing offense in the NFL, which is crazy to say. Mike McDaniel, he is in his bag, and he's got to stick with it. And he has the opportunity, Mike McDaniel, Tua Tagovailoa, and the Miami Dolphins have an opportunity to go into Pittsburgh and squash so many narratives. This is the test. Last year, the test was Green Bay, and they failed. This year, the test is Pittsburgh. Is this team for real? Is this hot streak that they on for real? Or were they just playing really bad competition and they played the Bills where the Bills just had a bad game? We're really going to find out Monday night. Can they win on the road late in the season? Can they beat a team over 500 late in the season? Can they go on the road and win in cold weather? You have the opportunity to check off all those narratives. It doesn't matter what happens the rest of the season, because even if the Dolphins win out, so much stuff has to happen around them. But if you go into Pittsburgh on Monday night and you win this game, you check off. You can win on the road in December. You check off. You could beat a team over 500 on the road. You check off that the Dolphins can win in cold weather. The Miami Dolphins and Mike McDaniel have the opportunity to prove all the doubters wrong over these years. And if they beat the Steelers on Monday night, do you know how much confidence that win will give to this fan base, not only for the remainder of this season, but going into next year? you are going to make this fan base feel pretty good, where most of the time, like after that game against Cleveland, 1-6, you're thinking this is going to be an all-timer bad of a season. 3-4 wins. You're picking in the top 5. New general manager, new head coach, new quarterback. You're cleaning house. And you go from that to completely, revitalizing the team. And I want to talk about something. I want to talk about one more thing. And then we're going to get out of here for the night. Do you remember, before the season started, do you remember the Dolphins and their slogan that all the players were literally saying, every single player on this team? We talk, or they talk, we do. Okay? They talk, we do. That's literally what every single player on the Miami Dolphins was saying this offseason. And they went into Indianapolis week 1, and they were unprepared. The defense gave up points on every drive. The offense was putrid. Mike McDaniel didn't have his team prepared. The players were unmotivated. And after week 1, we're talking about this team has no shot. This team should not have ran it back. They should have fired Mike McDaniel last year. All this shit. And they start off the year 0-3. And they go on a downward spiral. And then they've lifted themselves back up over the last 4 weeks to get themselves at 6-7. This game on Monday night against the Steelers, and we're going to talk about it more in the preview. Trust me, you're going to hear me say this a lot during the preview. This game has got to be a They Talk We Do game. Because you're going to have the media talking all week that you can't do it on the road late in the year. You can't beat good teams late in the year. You can't win in cold weather late in the year. And you've got to go out there and you've got to prove to them this is a different Dolphins team. This is a more physical Dolphins team who runs the football and punches their opponents in the line of scrimmage. This game against the Steelers, this has to be a They Talk We Do game. It has to be. And trust me when I say, you're going to hear me talk about that a lot in this preview for the game coming up against the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's an absolute big game. The Steelers are 7-6. They're in first place in the AFC North right now. And if they go on the road in Pittsburgh and win this game, man, holy shit. The vibes are going to be so high for the Dolphins, not only for the remainder of this season, but in the offseason. I'm telling you right now. They beat Pittsburgh on the road Monday night. Oh boy. It's going to be a celebration. But if they lose, it's going to be the same old. And we're going to have the same conversation we had in 2023. And we're going to have the same conversation we had in 2024. So, that's all I got for you guys tonight, man. Hope you all enjoyed it. Subscribe to the Big Fight Fuel channel. We're going to have coverage for you. Preview. We'll probably do a recap video on Sunday night of the other games. And then Monday night, your post-game recap for the Dolphins against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Comment down below your thoughts on the running game over the past couple weeks, this upcoming game against the Steelers. Let me know in the comments below. Hit the like button if you like what you heard from me. Follow me on Twitter and TikTok at Colin_Joseph. Again, if you haven't already, be sure to go ahead and check out the vlog from MetLife Stadium for the Dolphins and Jets. The Dolphins absolutely putting belt to ass on the Jets, 34-10. Go ahead and check out that vlog, and I'll see you later in the week for the preview. Dolphins, Steelers, Monday Night Football. Ba 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 ba. I'll catch you guys later.